What a wild ride today. What a real wild ride, I can tell you that. And we're just getting started here in hour number 3 of the show. It's profound what's going on in the Middle East right now. And the only thing that the Islamic world responds to in the Middle East, of course, is hard power. And as far as if they're your enemy, and they respect hard power and they fear hard power. And that's why you've heard former officials who can, speak their mind, that is exactly what is needed when Joe Biden and his administration are clearly, including Cackling Kamala, are calling for the opposite. In fact, this, Ian, from Yahoo News, U.S. in around-the-clock push against Mideast war. What's the latest flashpoint right now? What's going on? Well, here's what it is. The terrorist who murdered 12, literally the ceasefire was going on October 7th of last year. It was a ceasefire. Nobody was attacking anybody. And then Hamas is the government that Gazans voted in twice. They broke the ceasefire on October 7th when they invaded from air, land, and they went into kibbutzim, which are villages, little villages, farm villages, about a month, right on the other side of the border with Gaza. They went in and they raped women. They gang raped some of them, and one of them had her breast cut off while they were gang raping her. They played with it like it was a toy and threw it in the dirt. Another one they gang raped, and they shot her in the head before she dropped dead. They went into the homes. They took some of the Jewish babies were put in ovens and burned alive. In one case, it was a husband and a wife and 2 children, and they sat them down and they cut the wife's breasts off one at a time. They gouged the husband's eyes out while everybody was still alive looking, and then they killed him. Little girls were raped. Some babies were raped. Men were raped. In fact, a male prisoner who, not a prisoner, but a man who was kidnapped and was a hostage, was released recently, and he was interviewed, and I played it for you it's on my Twitter feed. He was raped by Hamas in custody. The UN has said they absolutely are sexually torturing the women in custody. And the UN just announced today that people in UNRWA, the organization that's in there in Gaza, many of their members have actually partook in the October 7th atrocities. But what happened is Israel's fighting for its existence, and the terrorists who still have 140 hostages, half of whom they most likely are dead, including 8 United States citizens, half of whom are most likely dead according to reports. And they're in a war with people who invaded them and killed them and raped them. And the leader of Hamas is Ismail Haniyeh. He's the entire leader. He's one of 3 Hamas billionaires who don't even live in Gaza. They live in a 5-star luxury high-rise hotel in Qatar. And he was in there meeting the newly installed president of Iran. And he went back to the Iranian regime's, one of their fortresses, luxury compounds, as a guest of the president, hours after he shook his hand and took pictures. And Israel planted a bomb in his room 2 months earlier and blew him up when he went in there. They blew up so young. Poor guy. That's the head of the entire Hamas organization, terrorist organization. And then they also, a couple weeks ago, they had 12 children were playing in northern Israel on a playground when Hezbollah, every one of these groups, by the way, Hamas, Hezbollah, they're in Lebanon, in Beirut, they are in Lebanon. They are all armed, trained, and run by Iran. Iran controls them, which is radical Islamist people who murder gays and murder women for taking off their burqas, trying to paint their nails, or daring to protest and exercise freedom of speech, what they do not have. They get killed. So couple weeks ago, Hezbollah, the Iranian proxy to the north out of Lebanon, they bombed and killed 12 little children on a playground. And so America, Joe Biden said, don't strike back, don't do it. And he did it. And the Israelis did it, and they took out the commander that was responsible for killing those 12 children. And now that's aggravated things. And by killing Hamas leader Ismail Haniyeh, that's aggravated things. Also, they killed the number Yahya Sinwar is tied with this other guy. They are the architects and prosecuted and ran October 7th. And the number two, the tied for number one guy that lives in Gaza there, was killed in a bomb striking with a bomb that Joe Biden is no longer sending to Israel. They used one of their ones remaining anyways, and they killed that guy. So they're killing the entire leadership of the people who have raped, murdered, and kidnapped their people. And Joe Biden is telling they're on the precipice of a war breaking out, and Joe Biden has the audacity to tell them it's critical we break this cycle by reaching a ceasefire. Don't kill Yahya Sinwar, who's literally the man who did all this to slaughter the Jews. He's now in charge of everything with Hamas. It's important that you know that every Gazan, not everyone, 3 out of 4 of every Gazans, 3/4 of them, 72% of them, support Hamas after they slaughtered and murdered the Jews on October 7th. They want this. They want Jewish blood on the streets. They want to kill them all. They want to wipe Israel out from the river to the sea, means between the Jordan River and the sea, the Mediterranean Sea there. They want Israel to be wiped out and all that to be terrorists, Hamas. So Joe says, and Joe's spokesperson Anthony Blinken says, I want intense diplomacy with very simple message. All parties must refrain from escalation. Here's the message from Israel. We're going to kill if they touch us, if they respond to us. And Iran has threatened they're going to say a major attack. They're going to do worse than they did in April, where they did 300 one-way drones, missiles, ballistic missiles, everything. And wait till you hear how it was stopped, how many countries came in and defended this to make sure Israel didn't get scathed. They got one person got hurt in this mega attack. It's going to be way worse. Iran was planning on striking out from their proxies in Iran and hitting Israel, from the north in Lebanon, from the south of the Yemeni Houthis, and from Iran itself, a 3 or 4 front attack. And Israel has made it clear publicly, and you won't believe it. I got more tonight. I'll share with you coming up next. They will kill their entire leadership. They will destroy their country's leadership. All the terrorist leadership will be gone. They're going to kill them, and they should. That's about to happen. You're going to about to see a big war break out now. That's on the precipice. We're on the precipice of now. I want to ask you about this. If you are leading Israel, what would you do? And what would you think you should do? Would you listen and not do anything? Or would you say, we're going to kill you, SOBs, all y'all, in Iran, and literally take out the regime? How do you think this changes the game of negotiating with Hamas? Would you negotiate with the guy who literally planned and executed all that attack? That's literally the guy in charge now. He was the one who oversaw, and led the murder and slaughter of their people. Would you negotiate with him? That's literally the head now. He's now the head. He was installed by Hamas as the new head. The guy who did that. He did the whole attack. But they're putting Hitler in charge of Hamas now. So they're no longer, the Journal reported today, Wall Street Journal, they're no longer a political organization. They're just a terrorist organization. That's all they are, 100%. They used to be supposedly political leaders. They're now terrorists, and that's all they are. They always have been. How do you think, the U.S. says that, by the way, how do you think this changes the game on negotiating with Hamas, now that Yahya Sinwar, the head of all this killing, is now the leader they're supposed to negotiate with? If you're leading Israel, what would you do, and what would you think the U.S. should do? What do you think the U.S. should do? And are you okay if Israel takes out the entire leadership of Iran, their grid, their oil refineries, and the nuclear sites? That's what former Israeli Prime Minister Naftali Bennett said on Fox yesterday, and I think he's right, and they will. And how do you think President Kamala would handle this as President Kamala versus a President Trump? All that's next. Your call next. We have lines wide open. We have 4 lines wide open. 800-288-WBAP, 800-288-9227. Philip in Temple, you are next on the Chris Crock Show on News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Kamala and Joe have literally given Hamas comfort and support by telling Hamas, which is Iran, by telling Israel, though, to cease fire, and by criticizing their use of force in killing terrorists who slaughtered 1,200 people of theirs in one day. raped them, tortured them, and brutally tortured and murdered them, and then kidnapped 280 of them, and around half of them are ending up dead, including 8 U.S. hostages who Joe Biden didn't do what Trump would have done, would have coordinated with Israel and their elite commandos without being announced publicly until after it happened. They would have gone in and they would have killed these, excuse my language, they would kill these bastards. They would have killed these bastards, and they would have freed the hostages. And we may have lost some, but we wouldn't have lost half of them. And those Americans would be free. And some of them might be dead from trying, but most of them would be free. Enough of them would be free. Instead, you have Kamala literally lying the other day, saying that, well, she's just such a fool. She literally is repeating Hamas propaganda. She says the children are. She says I'm reading that the children. I'm hearing that the children are eating grass and cattle food, and that and they're starving them or whatever. And that is a lie, as a Hamas lie. And in fact, what other country, I'm going to quote this editorial in the Wall Street Journal the other day, what other country, name another country in the past century that has fed its enemies while it's at war with them? They are feeding their enemies, and the price of food in Gaza is actually cheaper than the price of food in Israel, and they're feeding them. And as their government that they've put in, that 72% of them support, is slaughtering them. They're feeding their enemies. It's profound. And Kamala's attacking them, and they're demanding a ceasefire. By the way, the leader of Hamas is now Yahya Sinwar because they took out Ismail Haniyeh, the head of Hamas. And yet, listen to this. Listen to, from the Wall Street Journal today, now that Yahya Sinwar is literally in charge of Hamas, first of all, the International Criminal Court is now seeking to charge him with war crimes from the October 7th terrorist attack. But he has resisted pressure, Sinwar has, the Journal says today, to cut a ceasefire and a hostage deal, and told mediators that the Palestinian civilian deaths work to his advantage. So that Gazans, the useful idiots at the college campuses protesting for this crap, he literally says their deaths are working to his advantage. That's what Hamas does. They use them as human shields. Quote, Yahya Sinwar said, the now head of Hamas, "We have the Israelis right where we want them," Sinwar said in a message to Hamas officials seeking to broker an agreement with Qatari and Egyptian officials, the Wall Street Journal has reported. He literally loves where he's at. And you got Antony Blinken saying, quote, today, "We have a very simple message to all parties. They must refrain from escalation. It's also critical we break this cycle by reaching a Gaza ceasefire." Isn't that insane? U.S. is doing around-the-clock push against Middle East war, frantic diplomacy. So, no, Yahya Sinwar wants to kill them all and do more. They've said on the record they're going to do more October 7th, over and over again every day until Israel's gone. So my question is, now that the head of Hamas that killed all of those people and took the Jewish people hostage and raped them and subjugated them, how do you think this changes the game on negotiating with Hamas? And if you're leading Israel, what would you do? And what do you think the U.S. should do? I think Israel should kill them all systematically, like they've been doing very successfully. I'm very proud of them. And I think the U.S. should back them up. And are you okay if Israel takes out the entire leadership of Iran, their grid, their oil refineries, and their nuclear sites, if they get hit? And they're going to. And that's why Iran said they're going to strike back with worse force from 4 different fronts is what the reports are now. From Iraq, from Lebanon, from Yemen with the Houthis, and from Iran directly. This could be an unprecedented attack that would be amazing. Last time they had an attack like this was in April, when 300 one-way missiles and missiles and one-way drones were launched, and it was guarded with Israel needed the help of others. Listen to this: countries such as the U.S., the U.K., and France were able to shoot down a barrage of Iranian fire missiles. So it's going to be worse. So now they're saying, listen, we're going to kill these people, and if you try to hit us like this anymore, we're going to come in, we're going to kill. And Naftali Bennett, the former Prime Minister of Israel, said publicly, this is the message what's coming from Israel, from the leadership, indirectly. We will kill every of your leaderships. We're going to destroy your grid. And then you're probably going to see an uprising like you saw in Venezuela, where they're going after the leaders. They're going to overthrow the country and throw out the terrorist regime of Iran. That would literally end a massive chunk of all the terrorism in the Middle East. Would be in stunning things. They're the largest state sponsor of terror in the world. So, and how do you think a President Kamala would handle this versus a President Trump? I think it's clear. Peace through strength and hard power would win the day. All right, let's go to your call at 800-288-WBAP, 800-288-9227. 3 lines open. Lynn, thank you for your patience. Gregory in South. Which one we got first, brother? Is it Lynn or Gregory? I apologize. Gregory, Lynn, you stand by. You're next. Gregory, go.
Hey, Chris, I got two quickie election things for you before we talk about Israel, and you're going to love these.
Make them real quick, super, like 30 seconds. Go.
Harris Waltz could cut through all the obfuscation by just changing their campaign theme to Make Mao Great Again.
Well, you know, he's being called, here's a new nickname for him. It's Tim AWOLs.
Yeah,
Tim
whatever.
AWOLs. He's AWOL. Tim AWOLs. You like that?
Here's the second thing.
Yeah.
Here's the second thing. Okay? President Trump was concerned about the debates being broadcast and making one on the major networks and making them rich. Here's my idea. Broadcast the video portion on X, aka Twitter.
Yeah.
Do a simulcast audio on Spotify and have the debates moderated by Tucker Carlson and Joe Rogan.
That would be interesting. I think Joe Rogan should just be the debate, the moderator. Thanks for your call. Oh, wait, he had one more call. Call back on the other one. I'm so sorry. He had to call back on Israel. Lynn in Fort Worth. Call back, Gregory. I'm sorry. I jumped. Lynn in Fort Worth, you're on WBAP. Hey.
Hey, nice to talk to you tonight, sir.
You too, bro.
We should be absolutely back in Israel 100%. We should have, and I got to apologize. I was in Desert Storm in Somalia.
Thank you for your service.
We should have took this shit out a long time ago, and we wouldn't be having these problems right now.
Okay, so here's the thing. You're saying that we should be there, or we should be supporting them 100%, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? So we shouldn't ditch like AWOLs did, Tim AWOLs.
Hell no.
Okay. What does it do? You fought in the Middle East. What does it do when you try to negotiate with these people and they're killing folks and they've done what they did on October 7th?
You do not negotiate with these people. The only thing they understand is a bullet in the forehead. And Kamala Harris and these other idiots that are talking about negotiating have their heads so far up their ass, they can't smell daylight. What the hell?
Oops, Lynn, I'm going to let you go. Thank you very much for your call. Sorry about that. Okay, let's go back to Gregory, right? We got Gregory in Southlake. Is that right? Okay, Gregory, thanks. Sorry about that. I did not mean to drop you so early. Go. Finish up with Israel. Go.
No, that's okay. No, I mean, Trump would back Israel 100%. Kamala would back Hamas 100%. Israel should hunt. You took the words right out of my mouth earlier in the broadcast. Sinwar is Israel's bin Laden. They had to hunt him down and kill him. They had to hunt down all the Hamas fighters and kill them. After they cleared out Hamas, they ought to take over Gaza.
They're going to.
Add it to greater Israel, just like and if the Iranians or any of these other guys get in the way, take them out too. They're
going to. First of all, they're going to. Naftali Bennett said, and he wasn't speaking on behalf of the Israeli government, but he's the former prime minister, and he said that, and I've heard this multiple times from elders that are former Israeli intelligence, former IDF soldiers and such that are on Fox regularly. And they're going to, and it's also been mentioned from Israel itself, they're going to remain in Gaza. They're going to have a security force in Gaza, but they are not going to be. And I think Naftali Bennett even said this as actually what the plan is the other day. They're going to remain in Gaza. They're going to be the security. They're going to control security in Gaza, but they're not going to be involved whatsoever with the politics, the people, and that stuff. They cannot allow the population of Gaza, who after their 9/11 allow their Bin Laden group to stand. They voted for Bin Laden. They supported Bin Laden. Their Bin Laden, Yahya Sinwar. They supported Hamas. Almost exactly 3 out of every 4 Gazans supported what they did to the Jews. So they cannot be their own security.
This is why they should just take it over completely and just make it part of Greater Israel. Look, the Iranians. Nobody wants the Palestinians. No, Egypt didn't want them. The Iranians didn't want them. Nobody wants them.
They don't even want their refugees during war. They don't even want their refugees to help them.
The Iranians are using them as cannon fodder.
Yes.
Okay, to make Israel look bad.
Yes.
Okay,
that's what they all do. Yes.
That's what they're. You know, I mean. The next thing that's going to pop off after this is probably the West Bank, and you're going to have to just take that out.
Oh, they've been doing stuff already. Yeah. Joe wants to put the people from the West Bank in charge, and he also wants a 2-state solution. He wants to give terrorists a terrorist state next to Israel.
They've got 2 cancerous boils, and they've got to get rid of both of them.
Are you talking about Kamal and Joe?
No. Those are our cancerous boils. No, the 2 cancerous boils that Israel has is the Gaza Strip and the West Bank. And until they just clean them out and take them over and it becomes part of Greater Israel, the problem is never going to go away.
They can't though, because most everybody, even in the good parts of this world, would be against that. It's just that's why it's always going to be an issue. And what Israel is going to have to do, and they've already said they're going to do this, is they're going to stay there and they're going to be the security force for the indefinite future, but they're not going to get involved in the politics there. And that's how it was before. They have to do this. Hamas broke the ceasefire. Gaza broke the ceasefire. They attacked and slaughtered their people. So now they've lost. This is why you cannot have nice things. You can't govern yourselves. Or do your own security because you've killed us. You attacked us unprovoked. You broke the ceasefire on October 6th. So this is what you did. You support it still. We know that. We saw the poll that came out not too long ago that said 3 out of 4 of them, almost exactly 3 out of 4 of them, 72% support Hamas after they raped and murdered and invaded Israel. So they've lost that privilege. This is why they can't have nice things. And I'm so happy to hear. First of all, we've not even to hear, but to see that Israel is flipping the bird at Joe and Kamala and killing the very people that killed 12 of their children on a playground the other day when Joe said, don't do anything. And by the way, remember Kamala and Joe, their diplomacy or how they handled the October 7th attack and further attacks. What did Joe Biden say? He was asked, what's your message to Iran? Remember that? And he said 3 words. Remember them? Don't. And then he said, don't. And then he said, don't. And what did Iran do? They did, and they did. And that's what happens in the Islamic world with radical Islamic terrorists and Joe Biden and Kamala, these feckless appeasers who side, unfortunately, way too much more than any one of us. It's unbelievable. They side with terrorists too many times. I'll just leave it at that. They side with terrorists and terrorism, and it's all about Joe's legacy. He is dying to get a ceasefire at the expense of the Israeli people. He's dying to get a ceasefire so he can say, look what I did. I ended that. And Kamala's dying to make it happen too because it'll make her look good, even though she's not really doing anything in it at all. But it'll also appease her radical Islamist and Jew-hating base. So that's what this is. It's their legacy at the expense of the Jewish people. And guess what? There's many things that our Jewish friends and brothers are. You know what they are? They ain't stupid. They're smart. And they have the best intelligence in the world. And they are not stupid. And they're going to kill these SOBs like they did from the terrorists that did Munich 72 in the Olympics and kidnapped their Olympic team and killed them all. Took them 12, 15 years, but little by little they found him. It's one of those terrorist cockroaches that did that, and they killed him. They killed all those sons of bees. They killed one of that guy like 12 years or something like that later. He was on the streets of Italy or Germany. I think it was Germany. He was walking down the street, and boom, some Israeli Mossad guy picks up a gun, goes, boom, corks him in the head, walks away. Dead. They will kill you. They will fine you. And they're going to do that. And they don't give a frog's fat, you know what Joe Biden says, because they're fighting for their survivals. And that's why, for the first time, I think ever probably that I've seen, 50% of New York Jews now support Trump to 49% Kamala. That's amazing, and it's beautiful. All right, coming up next on the Chris Crock Show on News Talk 820 WBAP and now on FM at 93.3. Or I should say coming up at 10:52. Russia rapidly advancing in Ukraine. They've made swift, significant territorial gains as support grows among the Ukrainian public for a negotiated end to war. Oh, I can't wait to get into this with you. Whose plan for Ukraine do you want, Kamala's or Trump's? I'll explain next. News Talk 820 WBAP now on FM at 93.3. Make it a preset, y'all. 800-288-WBAP is our number. 800-288-9227. What a wild night we're having, honestly, and I appreciate it very much. I just love what I do. I really do. And unlike Kamala, I worked extremely hard, moved all over this country, and made squat for the first 10 years of my career to get here, and I don't want people getting the same outcome that I got, that sit in one place and expect to be promoted and are bums. Stunning what that caller said earlier tonight, wasn't it? Stunning. And that's fine. If she wants to be a Kamala voter, she certainly can. It's America. Very scary, though. Very scary. It's Marxism. And she didn't know what it was, and I shared a saying from Marxism, and I asked her, I said, I have to get out the phone. Why don't you look it up and see what it is? Because that's what you're supporting. And it's a very bad place to be, and countries that do that do not go far at all. They fail, and it's not good. It doesn't work out well. Okay, Russia is rapidly advancing in Ukraine. This is from the Financial Times today. Russian forces, I'm going to read this and give you my take on this. Very important. And we only have a little bit of time this hour, because in the next segment we're going to get into the Squad losing members and Kamala losing New York to the New York Jews, really the Jewish community in New York is Trump's leading over her now for New York Jews. It's stunning. It's literally like the most or second most liberal state in the entire country. And Jews are, like African Americans, are insanely pro-Democrat. Almost all of them, like maybe 80, 90% of them. Something of that nature. I'm guessing on that. Russian forces have made swift and significant territorial gains in Ukraine for months and months, if not a year or so. Many people have been saying, and I've been saying it at least in the past several months, or if not more, that Russia's going to win. And Joe literally allowed them to invade. He said that he would allow them to invade, but just not too big of a deal. He sent the signal with the horrific ditching of Afghanistan, making us look feckless to the world. That's when Russia got the green light. They went into Ukraine, and now we had the attack on Israel and war in the Middle East, which breaks out. All this because of Joe Biden and Kamala and their feckless policies. Russian forces made swift and significant territorial gains in Ukraine, taking advantage of Kyiv's military shortages and blunders as support grows among the Ukrainian public support grows for a negotiated end of the war, which is what Trump said he would do. He'd end this thing in a day. The eastern Donetsk region is the central focus of Moscow's renewed offensive, which began late last year but has significantly increased in recent weeks. President Putin's main battlefield goal this year to grab as much land as possible. It's because he knows Trump's coming in and he's going to end this. According to senior Ukrainian officials who spoke to the Times, our defenses are showing cracks, said one senior Ukrainian official with the military operations. He warned Russian forces have achieved tactical success in Donetsk and that more advances were likely unless the situation turns around. They're losing and they're going to lose. And I'll just throw this out and I'll answer it for you because we don't have much time. Whose plan for Ukraine do you want, Kamala's or Trump's? Kamala's is a perpetual war going on there for years to come. It's been 2 years. It's going to be 2, 4, 5 more. And lying about Putin being Hitler and taking over all of Europe And if that's true, if it's true that Putin's Hitler and he's going to take over all of Europe, we need to send our troops in yesterday. We waited too long for World War II. What are we doing? If that's true, which is not, but if it's true, we got to send in our troops like 6 months ago, 8 months ago. What are we doing? Go in there. Versus what Trump's going to do is negotiate an end to this. And Ukraine's not going to like everything. But that's what happens when you have a president who has no cojones and sends weak leadership messages to the world as a leader of the free world and leaves Afghanistan like it did. He gave them the green light to invade. They did. What do you think? He's stupid? And that's why Iran's and Hamas went in, and they're going to keep doing this because they got a wimp in charge of the free world. And weakness invites war. Joe Biden and Kamala have brought us 3 wars, and it's bad. And it's what they do. It's what you do when you're weak. Okay, as I mentioned, coming up next, Kamala maybe getting hurt here because the squad lost another member today. It's not trending in the right direction for her and her radical leftist vice presidential candidate.